Okay, so I did a big project, a book called The Big Thaw, which is charting the new future for journalism. It was for the Media Consortium. And the Media Consortium, and it's actually in 3 parts, and I'm just going to give a couple highlight quotes and stuff to give some context. But it focuses on the dissonance between the old model and the new model and where the opportunities are, looks at new and emerging realities, and then looks at future trends. And I did it for the Media Consortium. Some of you all probably know them. It's 45 of the leading progressive publications like Mother Jones and The Nation. And we interviewed a bunch of experts. We had Vivian Schiller from NPR, Clay Shirky, you all probably know, John Deifell, and a bunch of others. And actually, I have a thing that was up front there. If you didn't get it, I have it here. It has a free download for it. And so it's a kind of a guide and a resource for a lot of media companies. So the basic framework, I'm just going to explain this, and it gives you a window into what this is. It's all about adaptive strategy. This industry is moving so quickly that you can't just say, these are the trends, we're going to build our strategy on it. You actually need to figure out, how do we think about it adaptively? And it was around these 4 areas, and it was, we asked 4 questions around it. The first is, how is the competitive landscape changing? The second is, what new capabilities are needed to succeed? And there's a tension between those two, because when the competitive landscape changes, you need different capabilities. Instead of covering the news and being an expert, it's, facilitating communities. That's an example. So that's one, and there's a tension between that, and that tension is where the opportunity lies. The second 2 questions are, what needs can be met, problem solved, or desires fulfilled? A lot of folks in business talk about start with your customer, start with where the need is. And a lot of people have a hard time defining what that is. And then that connects to, how do you structure media organizations to capture value? Don't just create cool apps, but you actually have to figure out how to capture value from that. So that's sort of the framework for the whole report, but I won't dig into it. I'll just hit a couple highlights. So one of them on the distinct competencies, and this one was related to today, is why I pulled it out, and it was the world needs more tech entrepreneurs. And that's what we're doing here, is we're thinking like tech entrepreneurs, because we have tech entrepreneurs here, and we have folks that want to think more like tech entrepreneurs. We actually, one thing that came, this actually came from John Deifell. He was talking about journalists being entrepreneurs, and no longer are you just a writer, or just a publisher, or just a marketer. You're a writer, a publisher, a marketer. You do the business side. You're scrappy. You're an entrepreneur. So it was journalpreneurs that he came up with, and there's tons of examples in this room. Here are a couple examples that we had in the report. And one of our 4 conclusions from the whole report that relates to today is that new models will most likely come from new players. And not just new players, but new players and old players working together. So even like KQED, having a forum like the Hacks and Hackers here, that's working with new players. It's really hard for a company, particularly when they're big, to disrupt themselves. So like Google's getting big, and it's going to be harder and harder for them to innovate and disrupt themselves. It's going to come from outside new players. And the only way we can do it is structuring meetings like this and consortium that deliberately put people together that speak different languages in order to have that sort of, the new players have an impact on the system overall. So, and I'm going to tell, since this is a storytelling thing, I'm going to tell one story in storytelling, not analytical mode, storytelling mode. And I did a book with Seeing Beyond Sight, or with Chronicle Books, and it was Seeing Beyond Sight, and it's all pictures by kids who are blind. And this picture changed my life. It was a picture by Lawanda. And as you can imagine, when blind kids take pictures, they listen to the world around them, and they maybe point the camera too high or too low. So when this picture came back, and we would describe, this was in the film days, so we came back and explained every 36 image on the roll. And this one came back, and I was like, oh, you got a picture of a sidewalk, and I thought she maybe wanted to get a tree or a friend on campus. Put it to the side, went on to the next one, and she said, no, I meant to get a picture of the cracks in the sidewalk, because my cane gets stuck in it, and it's a problem, and I want to get them fixed. And so we sat down, and she wanted to write a letter to the superintendent of the school and send the pictures as proof of the damage and get them changed. And she wrote in it, Dear Dr. Breitweiser, since you have the privilege of sight, you probably walk on these every day and don't notice them. But for me, it's a problem, and wheelchairs roll off the sidewalk. And what was so great about this and why it's so relevant to today is that she learned a language that wasn't her primary language to talk, a visual language, to communicate, to change the world. And I think all of us are doing that, whether we're on the hack side or the hacker side. We have our own set of terms, concepts and language, and we're really learning, and sometimes you don't see the things in the world that need to be fixed, the problems that need to be fixed, the new ideas that need to be tackled, and it's only by working together across lines of difference, and there's tensions in that, that you can actually see the cracks. I walked on these every day, and I saw them, but I didn't see them. I mean, there's a difference there, you know? So that's a little story for you. So, and then the last two quotes, this was from Vivian Schiller, since we're at KQED, I pulled this one out, and it said, "Don't think about technology as the end of the process, but as integrated into the process. Developers should be a part of the journalistic process, and depending on their training, the right developers are journalists. What the web is doing is not just converting news into an online experience, but it's creating a whole new journalistic experience." That came from her work at NewYorkTimes.com, and she said, "We put technologists in the newsroom and treated them as journalists." And then the last quote is from Clay Shirky, and I love this. We started the report with this, but it says, "There may be distinctions between professionals and amateurs, between breaking news and follow-up pieces, between long and short and so forth. But these are just artifacts of production methods rather than deep truths, and we have to be truth tellers." I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Amy Guerin said, "So what? What does media do for people?" And I keep on coming back to this. We're not just like, you know, jacking off here. Like, we're actually doing things that are trying to make the world a better place. So the question always comes back to, what does media do for people?